My mom used to tell a story that when I was 2 years old, I threw a piece of paper back at her boss who had thrown that paper at her. Her boss looked at me and said, "Oh, she don't take no mess." Now, I don't remember this moment, but I know it's true because it speaks to who I was back then. A bold, fierce, fabulous 2-year-old girl who didn't take no mess. But somewhere along the way, between being that 2-year-old and becoming a teenager, something changed. I learned that not taking any mess wasn't quite an acceptable way of being, and that being good was rewarded over being just myself. If you're someone who maybe the person that you were when you were little is exactly the same fabulous person you are now, I commend you because it takes a lot of courage to be authentically you, to be the same as you were when you were little. But for those of us who maybe somewhere along the way got the lesson somehow that, nah, you can't be that version of you. A smaller version is more acceptable. A smaller version is easier to deal with. A smaller version, it's easier to love. You're praised for that. I'm talking to you today. I want you to think about who you were as a kid. How did you show up? What were your dreams? What were your needs? How did you express yourself? Before you learned that that version of you wasn't the version that got praised, wasn't the version that was acceptable. That version of you, think back. Who was she? How did she operate? How did she show up? What did she love to do? What did she dream about? And now I want you to think about why it may be that you're not exactly that same person anymore. That person who had that boldness, that fierceness, who didn't take no mess. Where is she? Is she buried under the surface? You see, for me, I think that's what happened. I think that that version got buried under the surface, just going through life. The different traumas, the different experiences. For me, I can say specifically being bullied contributed to that. Because see, I was bullied for my accomplishments, and so I learned not to brag, not to be proud of my accomplishments. But at the same time, I was an overachiever. But you see, being an overachiever was a more acceptable way of showing up bigger. So here you are being humble, but also trying to be an achiever because that version seemed more acceptable. Today, I want to challenge you to think about ways that you may be suppressing your authentic self. Maybe you're a leader. Maybe you're a leader who has a lot of different capabilities. You're able to show up in your work, but maybe in your personal relationships, you have a problem saying no. I want you to think about every time you feel like you're denying yourself. Anytime you think that maybe you're erasing a bit of your true self, how is that showing up in your life? I want you to feel how it feels in your body. Every time that you want to say no, but you end up saying yes to something that doesn't align with who you are, or what you do, or what you want to do, I want you to pay attention to how that feels. Do you feel yourself tensing up? Do you feel your breath becoming shallow? Do you start to feel anxiety because you're denying what you really want to do, what you really want to say, in exchange for a more acceptable version of yourself? I know that for me, things started to change when I began to realize what not really expressing what I really wanted to say or do was doing damage. Was doing damage to my spirit. I had to learn how to say no without guilt. If you have problems being a people pleaser, you understand what this means. You want to be accommodating. You want to be in service to others because you have a good heart. But the damage comes in is when you're not having boundaries around that good heart of yours. You're saying yes when you know that saying yes is coming at a cost to you. It's coming at a cost to your peace. It's coming at a cost to even your identity. Doing things that don't align with who you really are. I want you to remember that your peace and your happiness are your birthright. I realize that peace does not mean that you have perfect circumstances. It's an internal job. It's an inside job. Your external circumstances may look the same. But when there is an internal shift in making your peace and your happiness a priority, that's where the transformation comes in. You start to align with who you really are. You start to remember that person that you were years ago, before all the experiences came through, all the negative things came through that caused you to shrink back and be the smaller version of yourself. The next time you're left with the decision of, do I say yes or do I say no? I want you to ask yourself, is this request of me, does it align with who I want to show up as? With the real person I am inside? Or is the person giving this yes or no coming from the smaller version of me that I feel is more acceptable? Self-acceptance is where it starts. Self-acceptance. We may think that we accept ourselves, but there may be patterns in our lives that we're seeing that we're not really doing that. I want you to think about different things in your life that may be a reflection telling you that you're not really accepting who you are, that you're not being true to yourself. That internal shift that needs to happen is being able to trust yourself, to show up as yourself. That bigger version of you. And I think back to who I was as a very small girl. I can think, well, she had a lot of boldness. She had a lot of hope. She had a lot of dreams. But it's never too late to get back to who she is. Get back to who you were and show up in all of your glory. I'm Joanna Elizabeth. I just want to encourage you to make your peace and your happiness a priority and to always show up as you. Always show up as you. Peace and blessings. I'll talk to you soon.